Welcome back to Queen's Mindset. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are super excited to have you here. Listen, if you've been watching this series already, you know it just keeps getting better. So guess what? Yet again, we have another powerful lady in the house tonight to share her story with us. And listen, guys, I can't wait for you to hear her story. I am telling you, I can't wait. But before we go any further, if you have not done it already, I want you to go right ahead and just hit that subscribe button just right below and make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. All right, so let's head right into it. Keisha, welcome to Queen's Mindset. How are you doing?
Hey, I am doing good. I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you tonight and your viewers.
Yes, indeed. So happy to have you here with us. So, Keisha,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, my pleasure. First and foremost, I would say to tell you a little bit about myself is an understatement because I'm extra. And I own that I'm extra. But to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm actually a born again believer. I truly love the Lord with all my heart.
Nice.
I am also a wife. I actually co-pastor with my husband at Image of God Apostolic Ministries in the work of the ministry.
Mhm.
And I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters. I know most persons know of one, but I actually have two beautiful daughters, one being the eldest from my husband, and the second one or the younger one being our daughter Ariel in terms of marriage. So I am happy to have them a part of my life. They're both angels, and I truly love them with all of my heart. So that's a little bit about me.
Wow, Keisha, listen, like I always say, and you guys who have been watching the series so far, you know, this has always been the question, So how do you find the time to be the wife, to be the mother, to help
Hmm.
assist with church? How do you find the time?
Honestly, I don't know. I still think that's the number one question. I think as we grow in the Lord and as we listen, we have a better idea of how to balance and a greater sensitivity of where we need to be when we need to be
That's
and wherever we are, be there. Because you can feel stretched and you can feel sometimes even when you're managing your time the best way that you know how while still fulfilling all the responsibilities and obligations, you can feel stretched and you can feel like, I am not doing this quite well. But
yeah,
I believe that we grow in the grace and what God has called us to, He has equipped us for. And
that's
it's
right.
just a matter of growing and sometimes getting greater clarity along the way because we don't always know. We have to feel our way out sometimes or feel our way through. But God is not a God does not let us grow up in the dark. I think that's it. He doesn't let us grow up in the dark.
Amen. Thank God for that he does not do that to us. We know that we can definitely rely on him. Thank
Truly.
God. So, Keisha, everybody has a story. And I know the ladies are sitting on the edge of their seat, like, I want to hear what her story is. So, I want you to tell us, but tell us from the beginning. Tell us where it started for you.
Mm-hmm. I think I would want to go back to the fact that I came up in a single parent home. I think that
Mm,
was or a very critical point for me in my life.
yeah.
It could have been also a breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
But from as early as I can remember, that's what stands out significantly to me. Not all the details of my childhood, but the fact that I came in a single parent home. Um, I always had a loving mother. I didn't have the presence of my father, and I have other siblings, and we had really good relationships, still have really good relationships. But that's where it started for me in terms of my background and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
coming up as a young lady in the Lord, because I got saved really early at the age of 13.
Wow.
And I went through a lot of challenges before that time. I think, even coming up as a child, I would have seen my mom be the best mom that she could be and that she truly is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she would make a little multiply. She would multiply little in her hand and cause it to be so much. And I would see how she would sacrifice for the benefit of her children and the benefit of her family.
Mm-hmm.
And how those traits have, been passed on to me in terms of sacrifice and commitment and love, even
Mm-hmm.
though we may express it differently because we are unique. I
Yeah.
can see how some of her strengths really would have been passed on to me so that I can navigate life.
Wow. 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 So now you grew up in that household. You saw how all the strengths and everything, was transferred to you. And then what was it for you now? As you grew up now, when you had to take on the role, now you're adult, and we like to call it adulting.
Hmm.
How was that?
Adulting. Adulting. I think I had first-hand taste of adulting before I became an adult.
Wow.
Um, I remember working really, really early in my life. I can't remember the exact age, but I already understood or had a measure of understanding in terms of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I would have watched how my mom would have made ends meet in terms of our family and made many sacrifices.
Yeah.
So I was determined from a young girl that I'm going to give my mom the best life that she can have. And while giving her the best life that she could have, I was determined as well to be successful and go and get what is rightfully mine, you
Yeah.
know. Um, However, in reference to how life unfolded, I would have went out to work early. I became, at some point in time, the provider for our family. Again, remember it was I grew up in a single parent home, so
Mm-hmm.
I understood paying bills. I understood running a home, even though I didn't have my home per se. I was already functioning in this capacity. I think the defining moment for me is when I got married because now I had a home of my own, and I
Mm-hmm.
got married really, really well. I say late in life, but when I say late, I don't want this to hinder the viewers because I got married at the appointed time God had for me. So I know
Amen.
some people would say, if you're in your 30s or your 40s, it's too late. But I got married in my 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and now I had a home, and I had a husband, and in less than a year and a half, I had a child.
Wow. Says everything just happened so fast.
Yes, yes. But in it all, I had God.
Yeah.
So I grew quickly in certain areas, and then certain areas I had to take some time to adjust and process and learn along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all the things that God would have been doing in me in the time that I was single helped to prepare me for the time that I came into having my own family, going into ministry,
Yeah.
and running a household.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really can't say that some of the negative things from my past or what I would have seen in the upbringing of my mom's past in terms of her past and the things that would have surrounded her life had a negative impact on me. I recognize the things that could have affected past generations, but I believe that God always had his hand on me and he intended for me to break free and to break out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what every single day, because there's some things I've already broken free and broke out from,
Yeah.
but I recognize that there's some things that God is still calling me to break free and break out from.
Mm. Well said. Well said. So one of the things that you shared just now was that you said in your late 30s. So in your late 30s, how was that for you in terms of having a baby? Because then we hear all the stories, when you get on that age, there's challenges and all. Did you have any challenges trying to conceive?
Honestly, we weren't trained.
Mm.
Um, the thing is, the thing is to be very transparent with you.
Yeah.
Um, I am not one for birth control, and that's the truth. I am not against it,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of anyone's personal decision, but
Yeah.
I personally was not one for it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we came into marriage, or when I came into marriage, my husband and myself had to understand it because I initially didn't even want children. I
Oh.
had said to God, however, if deserve for me to get married and a child or children is a part of your plan, I submit to that plan. But
Mm.
I personally did not want children.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting with my spiritual mom, and we were in a counseling session. She said, "Do you want children?" And I was already pregnant, and I did not know. I did not.
Wow.
Um, so as I said, it was probably in a year and a half that I got pregnant, but under 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got married, my husband would have placed his hand on my belly, and we said, God, if it is your will for obviously me to conceive,
Mm-hmm.
let conception happen at the appointed time.
Amen.
But we weren't planning. We didn't use birth control. but God kept us for that period of time of the year and a half, where other people probably got pregnant before in 6 months or a year. God brought our daughter at the appointed time.
Mm.
Challenges. There were definitely challenges for me. Again, I didn't know I was pregnant. I was really,
Mhm.
really sick a day, and then that day went into days, and I was vomiting, and we was praying about spiritual matters. So at some point, you probably think you're going through deliverance. I was actually pregnant. And I remember this day in particular. My husband was at home, but I was having these really bad headaches. So I went with my family members who live close by,
Mhm.
and I went to the doctor. And in going to the doctor, I got an examination, I got medication, and they sent me for further examinations because they were concerned about we as ladies have different types of cycles.
Yeah.
So in the examination, they saw something in
Mhm.
reference to my cycle and they wanted to just examine me a bit further. And they sent me for ultrasound.
Mhm.
And I went for the ultrasound. By this time, my belly was huge, but I still didn't know I was pregnant. Yep, I'll get there. So huge, but I didn't know I was pregnant. And there was no indication from the doctor that I was pregnant either. But I went to the ultrasound. As the lady was doing the ultrasound, she saw some fibroids,
Yeah.
and that was the issue. And I don't know of anyone in my family, to my knowledge, that has ever had fibroids. Yeah.
Mm.
So encountering this at this stage was a lot for me to deal with. But while laying on the table, she says very calmly, after saying you have fibroids,
Mhm.
do you know you're pregnant?
Wow.
And she says to me the time that I have been pregnant for, and I was
Wow.
like, And I came out of that examination room. I went to meet my husband because he couldn't come in, obviously. I went to meet my husband in the car park.
Mhm.
And in between delivering what should be good news and bad news, I had mixed emotions.
Mm.
And I did not know how to process either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my husband lovingly so brought perspective. But even in that moment, I was like, honey, this ain't you.
Mm.
This is me.
Mm.
You can't even begin to understand what's going through my mind apart from what's going on in my body and my emotions. So
Yeah.
yeah, there were challenges, and to fast forward, I did not give birth naturally in terms of the pushing and the
Mhm.
enjoyment of that. I had to get a C-section because there was a fibroid
Mhm.
coming later down to my daughter's time of
Wow.
delivery.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was blocking her head. And
Wow.
the doctors initially, before the time of delivery, thought that it was her head. So
Mm.
now I'm finding out a couple of days before she's supposed to come into the earth that a
Mhm.
fibroid is blocking her head. And
Yeah.
where you think, Keisha, you're going to be able to push this baby out, I
Yeah.
heard you're going to have to get a surgery. And this was a couple of days before Christmas Day. So it was like, you're taking Christmas too.
Oh my gosh.
So there were challenges, but
Yeah.
everybody's story is different.
Yes.
I didn't perceive that that would have been a part of my story.
Mhm.
But it was a part of my story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone's story is different.
Yeah. So how many months were you when you found out that you were pregnant?
I think I was probably between, this is such a correction because it's so long now, but I think between that 4 8 week period,
Mm. Mm.
I was already pregnant.
Wow. And you didn't
Yeah.
tell me because your stomach was bigger, you didn't thought that could be something was wrong. You thought that was a part of it?
I thought something was obviously wrong because, I have a very small, initially, I
Mm-hmm.
have, I had a really small stomach. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I love to eat, believe it or not, I love to eat. So sometimes when I do eat, I
Yeah.
could get a little bit of a bulge, but I recognize, but this bulge seems to be very long standing.
Mm.
And when I touch the areas of my body, I recognize, it's a little bit harder than usual and it's not going down as quickly. So it's only in those moments that I recognize that something was wrong. But By that time, as I said, because I was feeling a lot of different things at that time, I was already pregnant. So
Mhm.
it, there was nowhere to go from there. And I guess what would have happened to with the fibroids, sometimes depending on where they're positioned, your stomach again can look really flat in a day,
Mm.
and then in a second it can look really big. So the
Yeah.
positioning of those fibroids, also would have made a difference as well. I know of some women that when they would have gone to um, care in terms of the pregnancy
Mhm.
to clinic, there was one girl in particular that had no belly. When I say none, none. But the child was actually in her back. So when they said she was pregnant, I was like, what?
Wow.
What? She had no belly. Her stomach reminded me of what my stomach looked like
Mhm.
before, but
Yeah.
she had no belly.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
So when you found out that you had to have a surgery done because you're unable to give birth naturally, how was that process for you? Because of course I know as much as we don't want to go through the pain of
Hmm.
pushing, we still
Hmm.
want to be able to do it, you know? So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
was
because
that
it's
for you?
natural. It's natural to
Yeah,
push.
yeah.
Honestly, I was reading a book called Supernatural Childbirth.
Mm,
It really stirred my faith, and it would have shared stories about women who probably had miscarriages, fears, etc.
mm-hmm,
And my friend, a good friend of mine, she actually bought me this book, and I remember I would have notes in my phone and notes on my sticky, and I'd be saying, "Honey, pray about this. Honey, get the intercessors to pray about this." But I was charged up
yeah.
that despite what doctors say or what
Mm-hmm,
doctors would have said, this is not going to be the outcome for me.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember even going in, I was laying on the hospital bed and a young doctor, he meant well. And he was talking about the report they would have given. And I said, you are going to see the disappearance of these fibroids out of my mouth. I said it. Yeah.
Wow.
In faith.
Mm-hmm,
And up to that point of delivery, they didn't see the disappearance, but I still believe. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
I still believe. However, I did not want to get an operation. I didn't. I didn't. It was not my heart to get an operation. And then the thing is, there were little fears in the back of my mind in reference to my own story, and the doctors saying being mindful of losing blood and anemic and those types of things, which happened while I was pregnant. But
mm-hmm,
I was very calm, even though I had some things going on in my mind. I
yeah.
committed the matter into God, into God's hands. But I did have fears like anyone. I did have questions. I had uncertainties.
Mm-hmm,
And, you know, uh, despite you have people around that would encourage you and pray for you, and they will speak the positive things in your atmosphere you need to hear. While going on that journey was like, God, this is me and you right now.
mm-hmm,
My life is literally in your hands because I've heard persons share about the fact that, you know, carrying a child alone can be a life and death matter. And I'm not speaking this concerning anyone's story, because our God is more than able. But there's some dynamics alone in terms of childbearing. But I was like, God, I commit my life into your hands. I commit the life of my child into
mm-hmm.
your hands. But it wasn't the easiest of journeys, but through everything that I thought I could not do and I could not manage, I did not see myself being able to go and stay in no hospital. I'm very particular, I'm very picky. And I was like, God, I can't see myself in the hospital for this amount of time and using this bathroom and sleeping in this bed. I couldn't see it. I needed grace. But
Mm-hmm.
everything that I thought that I could not do, God gave me the ability to overcome and to rise above. And we did just that.
Yeah, yeah. So you were also scared about actually going into the surgery itself, or were you you're more calm because you believe God that everything will be fine?
I would say I was initially scared, but I stayed calm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God really entrusted me into the hands of some really, really good doctors. I know my family and people that love me would have been praying for me,
Yeah.
but there were still niggling things in my mind. I think in it all though, because my husband came into the room, bless God, he was able to come in. But I remember after we had a conversation, he was like, hun, as I came in and I saw you exposed to this degree. this is nothing would even want from my enemy. Yeah, because he
Wow.
had a first glance of what was taking place while my face was covered. I was awake for the surgery because I'm so petite, they could not send me to sleep.
Wow.
And they had to find a special place to actually give me the injection in terms of
To
numbing the
them.
pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I'm very, very petite.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they veiled my face, obviously, so I wouldn't see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the only picture I have in my mind is when they raised my daughter's head above the veil.
Mm-hmm.
And the joy, I could not cry, I could not speak, but the joy that filled my soul and my heart, nothing can compare when I saw her face. And that was it for me. God, you did it however you allowed, or in whatever way you allowed, you did it. This
Yeah.
is your plan and this is your purpose. And the enemy might have tried to stop it by blocking or trying to block, but you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my husband taking our daughter Ari. He
Mm-hmm.
took her, and while they were taking care of her, oh, I missed some critical stuff. Before my daughter actually came out,
Yeah.
there were two doctors assigned to me, two women doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And when they opened me, they stopped.
Wow.
Whatever they saw in that moment, they could not go forward. And they actually called for, I put it in my terms because I don't know what they called it, but
Mm-hmm.
they called for another doctor to come in.
Wow.
And he was in another surgery,
Mm-hmm.
but had to come.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that whatever was going on in my womb, irregular fibroids, my whole uterus was actually twisted out
Wow.
of place. Yeah, because remember, I'm a small person.
Yeah.
Well, person, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And he came, and by the leading of the Holy Spirit, I know he did what he was supposed to do. But
Mm-hmm.
then he looked over my head and he said, "Don't get pregnant again."
Wow.
And he said it was really a life-threatening, dangerous delivery. But
Mm.
even in that,
God
God had a
showed up.
plan. Yes. And as you said, God showed up.
Yes.
I lost a lot of blood
Wow.
um, to get transfusions, nothing that I could have perceived or seen in my life. But
Mm-hmm.
these are things I walked through. And when others were going home and saying bye-bye, and I wanted to like escape,
Yes.
I was in the hospital a couple more days than I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I wanted to go, I'm glad that, I submitted to the process because sometimes to just even get up and take up my daughter, I could feel like moments of dizziness,
Wow.
and, God was faithful in the process and
Mm.
we eventually came home.
Yeah. And she came up without a scratch or a hitch, perfect.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Just perfect. Just perfect. What he do it. What he do it.
He will.
Wow,
He
wow, wow,
will.
wow, wow, wow. So now you got this beautiful baby and you are
Hmm.
back home. Now, how long did you stay in the hospital?
It was about a week and some.
Okay. Okay, not too bad. Not too
And some.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like you said, God gave you the grace, so everything you thought you weren't going to be able to do in the hospital, because nobody wants to stay in the hospital. A hospital has this
Mm-mm.
sickness to it, so you don't want
Hmm.
to feel like you're sick, right? So now you got out, you came back home and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that for you, coming back home now? Now I have a baby, I've recently been married, I'm still doing ministry, all these expectations of me, and I'm just trying to get everything all together. How was that process for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Honestly, in terms of the community,
Mm-hmm.
God really placed people in my life that would have been there and would have helped me in the process in terms of being able to move, manage with Ariel. You know, in terms of ministry, I would have stepped back before I even came home because from the time I got pregnant, that was a process for me all by itself. So I would have stepped back in ministry quite a bit. And the ministry knew where I was at
Mm-hmm.
um, for most of the process. So I stayed home a little bit longer as well when I came home. I didn't go back directly out to church. I spent time home in terms of healing, um, taking care of our daughter, and my own recovery. those that God would have placed around me, helped in terms of the cooking and the cleaning and making sure that I did what I was supposed to do. The thing is, though, even though there was a measure of recovery for me,
Mm-hmm.
I healed. I healed very quickly in
Yeah.
reference to the surgery. Whereby other persons would have had complications afterwards. I didn't have that process. I healed really, really well to the point where the doctors were amazed at how quick they would have recovered and how how in terms of the stitching, it
Mm-hmm.
looks it looks seamless, because as a woman, this is my body. And you start to think about, I had a flat belly before,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have this mark when I go to the beach. As a woman, you start to think about these things. But as I said, everything that I probably couldn't see that I could get past, or like, God, how do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
God just gave grace. He just gave grace. But I healed really, really quickly. And in no time, I was able to go back to ministry.
Wow.
So it wasn't a hard process. I think the hardest part of my journey would have been before Ari actually came, the changes that I was going through mentally and emotionally, sometimes not even understanding what is going on with you,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on the inside of you.
Yeah.
And girl, you're now just responsible for yourself and your husband in terms of the marriage. You got a
Mm-hmm.
little human. You
Yeah.
got a little human that's on her way, and you got to be a good example. You want to make sure you're setting a good example. I want to be a good mother. And you want to make sure that the gift that God has given you, that you steward those things right, then you
Yeah.
channel your child, or direct your child in the right direction. So it
Mm-hmm.
was more so mental and emotional for me, despite the physical. It was more so mental and emotional.
Wow. So who was your greatest support team during that, process?
I would say my family in terms of my mom and my sisters and my brothers, and some
Mhm.
really great girlfriends. My husband definitely would have been there, but outside of the family unit,
Yeah, yeah.
um, my family and some really great girlfriends. I was able to, have some ladies come together in a chat and
Yeah.
ask them to pray for baby Ari before we even knew baby Ari.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was having a moment, guys, this is where I'm at, and the ladies will come together in this chat and they would pray for me. They would pray me through. So I really appreciate them. But I really had community. Even when I probably did not see it, I always had community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. Support is important. It's important that we have those persons in our corner to help, be our cheerleaders, push us on, because I'm sure
Mm-hmm,
that there are moments in time where you felt like, oh, this is too much. That at any
mm-hmm,
point when you felt like this is too much, did you feel like, like giving up, especially when you went and they told you the news that, you're not going to be able to have a natural birth and, all those things.
mm-hmm.
Did you feel like giving up?
Honestly, I can't say that I felt like giving up in those moments. What I would say is that there's so many different aspects in reference to our lives.
Yeah.
And even though tonight I might have isolated the aspect of my family and the pregnancy, there's so many things that I would have went through that to me would have more so break me or cause me to feel bruised, as you would say, and battered in many, many ways. Life sometimes can make you feel battered and bruised and broken. So in reference to the pregnancy, those weren't the times that I wanted to give up. But I remember times prior and
Mm,
after where I wanted to give up.
yeah.
And I can't even say I wanted to give up because when I looked at this question
Mm-hmm.
and I searched my heart with the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
God said to me, you never really wanted to give up. You
Mm,
wanted to live. You wanted to live.
mm.
So at times when we go through things in our lives, because now I'm taking out of the context of pregnancy,
Yeah.
but at times we go through things in our lives, there are moments where, or we have moments, and there are thoughts that come to us. So let me use me. There were thoughts that came to me at different points of my life,
Mm-hmm.
which said, just end it. What's
Mm.
the use? Nobody's gonna miss you.
Wow.
Thoughts came to my mind, if a car hit me and I
Yeah.
go up to the hospital, it's no big deal. Because sometimes you can feel tired. But my husband always says, win the moment.
Mm,
win the moments.
I love
So
that.
I never really wanted to give up on life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thoughts came to my mind, but I always wanted to live and not die. I
Amen.
wanted to rise above whatever came to break me or to crush me. And I think sometimes become one with thoughts that are not ours, always our thoughts or originate with us. Sometimes they're the whispers of the enemy. Sometimes it's the voice of pain and pressure that is speaking in the moment. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we can give it to the moment. And honestly, as I reflect on my life and I think about life, I always see it as a case where it's like a boxing ring
Mm-hmm.
and you have an opponent. And this opponent now is the opposition and the pressures and the pain and the things, as I said, come to break, to bruise, and to batter us as individuals. But you have to decide if you're going to allow the bell to ring and count you up for the count, or if you're going to get up again and
Mm-hmm.
fight again and go again, despite the punches and the bruises and the disappointments and the pain. You are the person who gets to decide if you're going to go again. And in all my life, I I believe God helped me to overcome adversity because I heard these words as I was talking to God because I'm mindful. As I said, God, we all go through things. There's no one who's exempt. None of us. Today it might be Sue, tomorrow it might be me. But none of us are exempt from going through difficulties and challenges. But I said, God, how did I really overcome? Because I wasn't raped, I wasn't abused. I might not have had some of the things or gone through some of the things that others went through, but there were times that I felt beaten by life. I felt battered, bruised, and shook up in many ways. And I said, God, how did I really get through? And God said to me two words, God's mind. God's mind. And I want to explain that. God's mind is more so where I had knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and understanding from a very early age of his thoughts and his
Mm-hmm.
plans concerning me. So at every juncture in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly in between,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a knowledge and understanding of his thoughts concerning me, that helped me in every season to grow through what I was going through. That helped me to rise against all odds.
Mm-hmm.
That helped me to be resilient and to keep kicking despite the licking. And that brought me to a place where I no longer was the girl that said, I'm going to roll with the punches.
Mm.
There are times when we roll with the punches because we're learning and we're in training.
Yeah.
But God brought me to the place that of where He said to me, now is the time to subdue. Now is the time to crush the enemy's head under your feet.
Yeah.
Now is the time to fight back. And instead of allowing life to beat me, and life in this case is the oppositional challenges, instead of allowing life to beat me, I
Yeah.
started to beat life by winning, by
Uh,
winning, by winning.
Amen. Amen. So then, what would you say then was your? I know we're coming closer, and I hope you guys are taking notes. I hope you guys are taking it because it's really good. But we're coming close to the end, and I want to ask this question, which is, what would you say was your greatest challenge? And whatever that greatest challenge was, can you tell us how you were able to overcome and what did you learn from it?
Wow. I think as I think about it, my greatest challenge to me more so to be mental. Let me
Mm,
explain what I mean. I struggled with identity for most of my life
ah,
in terms of who God says I am and who God has called me to be.
mm-hmm,
So on the outside, people would see a put together young lady. On the outside, people would see a lady who loves God. People would see a leader in ministry, or I served obviously before I got to this point. I served in different capacities with youth,
mm-hmm,
intercession. People saw this young lady, but people didn't see the internal things that would have broken me. So, not having my father in the picture, I dealt with a lot of rejection. I dealt with not having that affirmation that really comes from a father. A father speaks identity and affirmation to a child. Even at this age, as young as Ari is, her dad and myself, we speak words of affirmation to her. We celebrate her. But I can tell you, even though I might do it, when daddy says it,
different.
it hits a little bit different. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
can acknowledge it, but after I acknowledge it, she still runs to daddy and she says, Daddy, I look pretty. Daddy, I this, Daddy, that. Because a child longs for the affirmation from their father. So my challenge was more so mental, in my opinion, in terms of my identity. And I struggled with that. So in every aspect of my life, that would have trickled in
Mm-hmm.
until I came to the point where God, or where I came to the point of understanding
Mm-hmm.
and allowing God to heal my heart of those issues and to speak identity to me and to affirm me in His love. And in allowing Him to affirm me in His love and His identity, then I was able to rise above the challenges of life because I recognize, Keish, you're not doing this by yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
get to do life with God.
Amen.
I'm not doing it by myself. And He is for me. He is not against me. He's in my corner. He's rooting me on, cheering for me.
Yeah.
And the mere fact that He would have created me and placed me in the world, I'm already a born winner. I'm a born winner. And I think as I went through my process in reference to all that I would have went through, because I believe all that I would have went through, God used every aspect of my journey to unearth
Mm-hmm.
on the inside of me. God used every aspect of my journey to make me. So I didn't always understand it. I didn't always like it. I didn't always have the right posture, disposition, or attitude in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was mindful, God, I just want your will. And as I submitted to that, He allowed those things that I went through to refine me and to shape me into who He wants me to be.
Amen. Amen. So before we go, I want you to talk to that lady who is watching us here tonight. And I want you to encourage her. I want you to, to encourage her that if she's in that same position as you were based on the story that you shared here tonight, or maybe another position that, that we haven't discussed as yet, I want you to just lift her spirits and encourage her.
hmm What I want to say
Mhm.
is that God has a purpose and a plan for your life.
Yes.
There is nothing that you have been through, there is nothing that you're currently going through that is wasted. God has a plan and a purpose. God has a purpose and a plan for your life. Sometimes we may exchange God's plans for our plans,
Mhm.
but God still has a plan for your life. And in the midst of what you are going through, I know it might be painful and I know that you're feeling the pain, but seasons change.
Mhm.
And there is going to be another season that you're going to step into, that the pain of the past season will not be able to overshadow the joy of the season that you're going to step into. And all that you're going through, just like me, if I had to, or if I had the opportunity to go back,
Mhm.
many times we say we would like to go back and we like to change this, we would like to change that. And at times I would have said that, but if I had the opportunity to go back today, I would not change anything in reference to my process
Mm.
because my process has helped to shape me and make me in terms of who I am today. So
Yes.
whatever you're going through or whatever you have gone through is preparing you for this moment. What I went through prepared me for this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you're going through or whatever you've gone through is preparing you for this moment, wherever that moment right now for you is,
Mhm.
it's your moment. But also know that whatever you are going through is preparing you for your next. We all go through things in every season.
Yeah.
I'm going through things currently know that I have not shared with you tonight. But
Mhm.
I know what I'm going through right now is preparing me for my next. My next. So there's hope. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Do not give up on yourself.
Amen.
Don't give up on yourself. Even if others give up on you, even if others have, knocked you out for the count, do
Mhm.
not give up on you because God has not given up on you. If
Yeah.
you are breathing, if you have a pulse, you still have purpose. If you took a wrong turn, if you had a setback, believe me, once we commit our ways unto God, and once we commit our life into His hands, and once we commit to His plans, He's
Mhm.
able to turn all the things the enemy meant for bad and all the bad decisions, all the mistakes that we made, He's able to turn those things around and cause it to work for our good. There are things that I went through, I made bad decisions, I had setbacks, disappointments, I made mistakes, and I probably made them 2 and 3 times. But
Yes.
God caused all those things to work for my good. and
Amen.
cause those things to help to shape and groom me into the woman I am today. A resilient woman, a woman of excellence, a woman of integrity. Am I boasting in myself? No. I'm boasting in the fact that in my weakness, God is strong.
Yeah.
In your weakness, God is strong. And there's some things that He's doing on the inside of you, even when you don't understand or you can't perceive it. There are
Yeah.
some things that He's doing on the inside of you to make you and fashion you into a vessel of honor, into a person, that would be able to stand amongst others and cause them to see God did it for me and He will do it for you. The Word of God says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And somebody is waiting on you to take your rightful place. So you can't give up on you. Somebody is waiting on you to believe in yourself. Somebody is waiting on you to stop sabotaging
Yeah.
what God has given you to do and to just believe in yourself and to fight again and to dream again and to believe again. So don't give up on you. God's grace is more than enough, and
Yeah.
He will give grace for where you are and where He is taking you.
Amen. Well said. I told y'all it was going to be good. Didn't I tell you it was going to be good? It's going to be so good. Keisha, I really want to thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely a good reminder, that God is going to do it. He's able and He can do it. All you got to do is ask for help. That's all. Just ask. Just tell Him what you want and He's going to respond. He's just waiting for have that conversation with you. So have that conversation with them. Once again, ladies, thank you so much for coming out tonight and joining with us. Keisha, what can we look out for? Is coming up? Anything coming up that you want to share with them? Anything you want to share?
Actually, it's interesting that you asked that. There's something coming up pretty soon, but you're gonna have to follow me to
Yes.
find out.
Ah, so we would definitely be following. Tell us where to follow you.
You can actually follow me on my IG handle.
Yeah.
It's Keisha P Boyce, but definitely something coming up before the end of the year.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited. So we're going to be following her on IG at Keisha P Boyce. Remember that, ladies. Keisha P Boyce. You're going to follow her there. Make sure if you haven't done this already, send this link to a friend. You can encourage them by just share the link. Just share the link with them. Like, share, and comment below because we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. Give us some insight on what Keisha had shared here tonight. We know you had an awesome time with us because we definitely did. And we thank you once again for coming out tonight and joining with us. Remember, if you have not subscribed as yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button just below, and we'll see you on our next episode. Have a good night, ladies. Bye.